Good evening. I'd like to call the City Council Personnel Committee meeting to order. It is February 19th and the time is 7:31. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening, so we'll start with order number 25-100-9359, communication from Mayor Dumas with the appointment of Brian Doheny as City Comptroller Treasurer for a 3-year term effective March 31st, 2025. In addition, pursuant to Chapter 125, Chapter 25, request to start Mr. Doheny at Step 7 of the Comptroller Treasurer salary schedule and grant an additional week's vacation. Mr. Doheny, would you like to join us? As you come up, I will read the letter from the Mayor. Dear Council President Ossing and Councilors, I am pleased to submit for your approval the appointment of Brian Doheny as the City of Marlborough's City Comptroller under City Code 6710. Mr. Doheny will begin his duties on Monday, March 31st upon City Council approval. Mr. Doheny returns to Marlborough, where he served as a City Comptroller under the previous administration. He brings many years of both finance and management experience in municipal government. I am extremely confident in the abilities of Mr. Doheny and believe his historical knowledge will be invaluable under a new administration. This role will assist with many major projects such as the annual budget, capital improvement plan, Richer School, West Side Fire Station, and others. The individual in this position will also play a major role in our debt schedule, investments, and maintaining our AAA bond rating. It is imperative we have a qualified candidate in this position as soon as possible to ensure we maintain our bond rating and strong financial position. In addition to Mr. Doheny's approval as City Comptroller, I am requesting that he be placed at Step 7 on the City Comptroller pay scale, as well as provided an additional week of vacation. Enclosed in Mr. Doheny's resume for your review, Mr. Doheny will be available at a future Personnel Committee meeting to answer any questions you may have. Please do not hesitate to contact me or my office with any questions. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. Mr. Doheny, good evening.
Thank you, Council.
For a quick note for people at home, the Comptroller and Treasurer is the Chief Financial Officer for our city. The mission of the office is to oversee all financial activities within the city and to assist the administration in the overall financial management of the City of Marlborough. Comptroller coordinates the budget process with department heads on behalf of the administration and assists the administration in obtaining City Council approval of the budget. Activities include the following: assisting in establishing new fiscal policies and strategies that reflect the city's financial goals, and analyzing the impact of regulations imposed by other governmental agencies on the city's financial position, strategies, and policies. Now that I have read the webpage, I would like to welcome you here again this evening and ask you to tell us a little bit about yourselves and also about the position that you seek to return to before we open up to questions.
Sure, so thank you. So my name is Brian Doheny. My major is accounting. I've been in municipal finance since 2007. When I first came, I went from 18 years at a private industry to the city of Fitchburg. I was in the city of Fitchburg for 7 years. I started as a treasurer collector. They appointed me director of finance and administration. The city of Fitchburg had a lot of financial needs. So, for instance, when I started, they had $30,000 in stabilization. When I left, they had $3 million with a $500,000 transfer. Under me, when I was director, was the assessor, the collector treasurer, purchasing, auditing, IT, anything with a number kind of went through to there. I happened to be at a conference and I sat with Tom Abel, who was the comptroller here at the time, and he mentioned to me that he was retiring and just started chit-chatting for a little bit. He goes, send a resume, you'll probably get an interview. So next thing I know, I sent a resume and had an interview. Came to Marlborough, enjoyed it very much. You know, I like city government. You know, that's what I do best. I grew up in the city of Fitchburg. That's pretty much all I know. I was very pleased that while I was here, we had a AAA rating. We were able to get that. A lot of people had mentioned that that wasn't going to be a possibility because of the demographics in the community. But, you know, through the team approach, we were able to do that. Also, the best thing to do was we were looking to add a school. And if you're going to bond a school with a large item, having a AAA bond rating was very beneficial. So that was a very good accomplishment. Again, I was glad to be part of that team. And then an opportunity came to me. Another community near me was in financial problems. It was the town of Ashburnham. They didn't have their books closed. They didn't have free cash certified. Their tax rate was over $20 per thousand, and they had many issues. And to open my doors up to more communities later on when I retired, I thought a town would be a good opportunity. It also paid a little more, which was another factor in my time. So off I went to town government. I know I'm keeping this kind of short and condensed as we go. You can follow up with further questions. So what I thought would take 5 years to get them out of their financial hole took 3. That was fine, except for my expertise in what I like doing best is municipal finance. I was doing more grant writing. I was doing more bylaw review. I was doing more of that type of stuff, non-financial. So it wasn't quite as enjoyable as it was when I was in the city of Marlborough, which I will say was very enjoyable. So when the president changed the enabling Social Security to not have an offset, so I used the example of, say, my pension was $60,000 back, my Social Security would have been $30,000. The 2-to-1 offset, I was getting 0 Social Security before. Now I'll get $60,000 plus $30,000. So at the same time that was going on, I had noticed, obviously I followed the ads, and I know Marlborough has looked to fulfill this position a couple times. And so I text the city auditor and asked if the position was still open, and she mentioned that it was. And I proceeded to ask her what her thoughts were, if it was still open. And she said, apply. So I applied, and I want to thank the mayor very much for the opportunity to come talk to him, to see if he thought it'd be a good fit to come back here. He was a city councilor when I was here. We didn't have a lot of interaction while he was on the board. We did have a couple of talks here and there. I do like to talk to people. I like to talk finance. I'm pretty much an open door policy. That's pretty much how I am and who I am. So I appreciate him for that. I thought our conversation was about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, a lot longer than I think either one of us expected. But I thought it went very well. I was hoping to have a contract because it is allowed under Mass General Law to have a contract. But after our 3.5-hour conversation, I left and said, you know what? I think this will work. And so I appreciate the mayor for putting my name here. I appreciate the city council for moving me forward to this committee. Some of you are still here from before, which was also one of my attractions to come back here. I think the members that are here, I had a good relationship with, and I think they're very familiar with who I am, what I do, and what my financial skills are.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that background. And in your answer, you encapsulated or answered the question that I had, which is why are you coming back? But also you had the top spot, in another community, and you're looking to take a more focused role. And oftentimes people go the other way. And I think your answer about some of the extra duties as assigned when leading a community, I think a lot of people would be sympathetic to, so I appreciate that. Don't tell too many people. I know there are a lot of communities out there still looking for town managers and town administrators, so don't let the word out.
That pay hefty.
Yeah, no, that is true.
My goal was never to be a town administrator. That was never my goal. I do like financial challenges. Like I said, I think coming here, the AAA challenge was one that I was proud of. And getting Fitchburg out of their problem, and getting Ashburnham out of their problem. But now I'm at a point in time where I want to enjoy my career and want to stay focused with just municipal finance, because I think after I'm done, I would like to continue on in municipal finance, either training people, showing people. There's not enough people in municipal finance. So I think my skill sets and expertise can help cities for the most part. That's where I prefer to be in that goal.
Great, thank you. With that, I will open up to members of the committee who have any questions. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Brian, nice seeing you again, sir.
Thank you.
So you spent 7 years working in Marlborough. I think those with 5 with that. I was actually upset when you left, to be honest, because we have a lot of engagement with people who work for the city, and I know some are in the audience now. but it's nice to have authentic correspondences, kind of getting into the engagement and, going through a discussion path to get to an answer to clarify a point on certain things. And I felt that you were very good at clarifying stuff like that from a financial perspective. So I think you coming back would be great, and I'm glad to see a good face from the past coming back, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, and welcome back. I'm Councilor Brown. I don't believe I was here when you were here
not. So nice to
before.
meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So when I was looking at your resume, things that stand out to me are, and you absolutely spoke to this as well, is you're somebody who leaves things better than you found them. But not just a little bit better than you found them. It seems like you really take on big projects and drastically improve the financial situations of the places where you've been. Just what you've done recently in Ashburnham with the tax rate and just getting it all squared away. I think you just said in 3 years when you had a goal of 5. I think that's huge. I really love setting goals and, maybe trying to beat those goals. And I love hearing that quality in you. And also something that I always consider is putting aces in their places. And so while I'm sure you're a marvelously effective administrator, you have a very specific skill in finance, and everybody is lucky that you're choosing to just focus on your talent and skill. And I don't have any questions that have not already been answered. I'm very impressed by what I've seen you do, and actions always speak very loud, so thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. We'll open it up to members of the council. Councilor Orem.
Hello, Brian.
Council.
Nice to see you back in Marlborough. In Ashburnham, unfortunately, they're lost, because with what you've done is amazing, including the reduction in the, as just noted, the tax rate from $20.10 to $14.87. With that, some of our challenges right now, obviously capital projects are coming online, school, fire department. And another issue we've been discussing in finance is controlling our energy resources. And it's difficult to control when the market out there is changing, especially as we've heard from Eversource. They keep increasing, and our increase on gas, natural gas, has gone out of whack. And didn't know if you were challenged on some of those energy issues in Ashburnham and what you were doing to resolve some of the costs that go out of control.
Sure. So Ashburnham, we have not. Ashburnham has their own municipal plant.
Cool.
So they have one of the lower municipal rates in the state. So that's an advantage. But unfortunately, that wasn't able to draw business to Ashburnham. Ashburnham is definitely a residential community, which is fine. Nothing against them. That's who they are. But it makes it a burden on the residents when your tax rate is $20 per thousand, and where do you go from there? So again, as you mentioned, I'm fortunate that the tax rate was reduced while I was there, but energy is a concern. We did it with a lot of just light switches. You leave the room, the timing switch shuts off. You don't have everything left on, things of that nature. Make sure the heat's down when you leave, with thermostats that can work. The usual stuff everyone knows in the house.
Sure.
Is really the only thing we could do there.
Yeah, and on that note, I know our DPW is challenged with it, so I think your dealings with the DPW in the past will be helpful in the future as well in finding ways to conserve, find renewable energies, see if there's a cost effect to that. There's the upfront cost, but hopefully with your position here, you can help with some of those energy needs. And outside of that, fantastic resume. I like your longevity wherever you've been. It's too bad your longevity here was only 7 years, but it may now be 15 to 30, so if you want to work here that long, but welcome back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate the comments.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Any other comments? Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Brian. It's good to have you back in the city of Marlborough. I was a new councilor at the time when you were the comptroller, and one thing that I thought was such a positive thing for the city and the department, you always had this vision of moving forward with ideas. I remember being the new council, you're talking about the AAA bonding, you're talking about the OPEB account, stabilization accounts. I thought that was just an important part of the city as we were moving forward into those goal-oriented items for the financial part of the city. I'm not on the personnel committee, but I would certainly support you coming back to the city of Marlborough, and welcome back to the city of Marlborough. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Irish. Council President Ossing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I glad to see you? So, councilors, you know my forte or passion is having Brian back. I can't tell you what a relief that is off of my shoulders, because just having someone of that capacity, Brian brings credibility and financial acumen to the city, which it has been missing in our last 14 months. This is not to diminish the work of the auditor, which has done a fantastic job filling the financial leadership void. But Diane's the auditor. I need Diane to be independent of the comptroller function. And so, Diane, I thank you for all your work, because you've been a godsend filling in. But we need a comptroller. And having been at MMA, listening to the folks complaining about comptroller positions, this is a win-win for Marlborough. So let me just highlight some of, in my 7 years, the free cash policy. So 10% of free cash each year goes to set up free cash. It's gone from 16 million to 28 million. OPEB, again, 10% of our free cash. It's gone from 11 to 23 million. This is all under the direction that Brian put these financial policies in place that I use as my training manual for all the new councilors. That's part of my document that I give to all the new councilors, say, this is why we do things financially. Bond rating. I can't underestimate or overestimate how important the AAA bond rating. Brian was the first one ever. Arthur and I tried for years to get the bond rating, and through Brian and Diane and council's work, we were able to pull it off and maintain it. That bond rating is huge, especially when you think of what we've got coming before us with our big projects. Bond counsel, maintaining relationships with bond counsel when preparing to go out for bonds. And we got big items, right? Richer School, West Side Fire Station, the annual capital projects coming down in a couple weeks. Preparing budgets, right? Not just the department budgets, but as the comptroller, he's got debt, long-term interest, short-term interest, unemployment, health insurance, city insurance, workers' comp, and not just for the city, but for the school, the sewer, and the water departments. All fall under the comptroller. So you say, why was Mike losing his mind for the last 14 months? It's been tough for the administration to find someone, but now we found someone, and I'll tell you, we've nailed it. Union contract negotiations. So again, this is another one. I meet every 2 weeks with the mayor, and we go over all my concerns, of which these are many of them. Having someone with experience in dealing with that back on the city side, tremendous. Preparing capital plans. We had a great capital plan. There was a 5-year forecast under Brian's tenure. I'm expecting to see that back again. And then kind of goes under the radar screen, but overseeing the collector's office and the assessor's office, having that adult leadership. Who's driving the collector's office and the assessor's office, right? I mean, we've got all new, if you think about it, we've got new people in those positions. So having Brian back there now to have some permanent leadership in place is going to be tremendous. And then the thing I would continue to, challenge Brian, the debt service. All right, Brian, what's our debt service? What are our payments this year? What's next year? He's been able to pull that together. I haven't been able to get that in a format that helps me do what I need to get done. So having Brian in this position immediately improves the administration's ability to work through fiscal issues. So I'm not on personnel, but I would highly recommend the Personnel Committee report favorably on this appointment, the salary, and the vacation as presented by the mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are there any other questions or comments from members of the council? Councilor Doucette.
Motion to approve, Brian, as comptroller?
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the appointment of Brian J. Doheny as City Comptroller Treasurer for a 3-year term effective March 31st, 2025, and to start him at step 7 with an additional week's vacation. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? It passes 3-0. Thanks, Brian.
Can I ask if the personnel committee look favorably on suspending the rules on Monday night?
Yes. Any concerns from the members? Perfect. Thank you, Mr. President. We shall do it.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it.
All right, next up is order number 25-100-9360, communication from Mayor Dumas with the appointment of Douglas E. Philpott to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term set to expire from the date of City Council confirmation. Mr. Philpott, would you like to join us up here while I read the letter from Mayor Dumas? Honorable President Ossing and councilors, I am submitting for your review and approval the appointment of Douglas Philpott to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term to expire from the date of council approval. This position has been vacant for quite some time and will fill the current vacancy on the zoning board. As you can see from Mr. Philpott's resume, he is a retired engineer. After meeting with him, I have learned that he has lived in Marlborough for almost 40 years. Mr. Philpott is the parent of 2 children who graduated from the Marlborough Public School System. Over the years, he has actively contributed to the community through his involvement in scouting, baseball, open space, planning, and community gardening. I want to thank Mr. Philpott for wanting to continue to serve his community by joining the ZBA. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Philpott.
Good evening.
I'll note for the councilors who are here, we do also have 4 other appointments for the ZBA. They are reappointments that are in committee, and we will bring those folks in at a date that is mutually convenient in the near future. Quickly, the mission of the ZBA, for folks at home, the ZBA interprets and enforces the Marlborough zoning code. On a case-by-case basis, the ZBA hears applications for variances, special permits, requests, where the zoning code designates the zoning board as the special permit granting authority, and appeals of decisions by the building commissioner or any administrative official. Also, the ZBA administers the comprehensive process for affordable housing set forth under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40B. Welcome again, Mr. Philpott. Ask you to give us a brief spiel about yourself and why your desire to join the ZBA.
Well, I think you've pretty much covered my background. My wife and I moved here in 1987, back from 2 years in upstate New York, and moved across the street from Councilor Ossing. I took a job with a large defense contractor locally, and then I've had various positions since then. As you said, we raised 2 boys. Both of them went to Marlborough High. I was active with the scouting, Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, probably 10+ years with Marlborough Youth Baseball, predominantly with the Babe Ruth Leagues. I did serve on an open space committee back beginning in 2000s with the conservation people. And I also worked very hard to get sewers up in our neck of the woods back in the mid-90s when Title V came through, a very sorely needed addition to the neighborhood. And I think they're just finally finishing that project up, if up off of Sudbury Street.
Yep.
So, but that was a lot of work. I kind of stepped away as the boys grew up and travel things took precedent in my life, but I'm back, I'm retired, and I'm looking forward to serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll open up to questions or comments from the committee. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I did kind of warn you a little bit when I met you in the elevator. Yes. So I'm an only child, but growing up, the ZBA was kind of like my sibling because that was what my mother kind of lived and breathed in her position as secretary. And so with that familiarity, I was happy to see that you have a packet that shows me that you actually do understand what the ZBA might do. I've also heard that you have attended some meetings just in the audience to kind of gain
I did
some...
attend several meetings, yes.
Yep, to gain some familiarity as well from that point of view. And so I guess just given the nature of the types of cases the ZBA will take before them, the only question I guess I would have is, do you have that level of comfort speaking with the public and being in a position of needing to potentially deny something if warranted?
I believe I do, yes, yes. I do have the time, if I see fit to go look at a property ahead of time, do a little research. I'm still somewhat working, but that's slowly phasing out. But it's something I'm looking forward to doing. And I do know two of the people on the board from past experiences, so. It was interesting. I think I was actually at one where they did give an affirmative to one of the petitioners. So I guess it's not an easy thing to, it's
And
very,
especially with their
very
small
cut and
numbers.
dry, specific
Yes.
rules that they adhere to.
Okay, well, I think you'll take it seriously and you'll do a thorough job, and I appreciate that you want to take on this responsibility in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So your background was in system test equipment, is that true?
Excuse me?
Your degree was in test equipment or
Electrical
methodologies?
tests,
Electrical
yeah.
engineering test equipment?
Yeah, my last 17 years, been doing mostly satellite work,
Okay.
testing parts that go in satellites.
Okay.
Qualifying.
Qualifying, validating, all that, okay. So there's a methodology for tests, that's pretty well constrained. And I think as far as, there is similarities in methodologies between that type of analysis and zoning exploration,
There are rules, very strict rules.
Very strict rules.
You need to adhere to keep
Yes.
certain people very happy.
Yes, yes. So I think that seems to be a good way to approach it. So I
Right.
think you've got a reasonable background
Yeah,
to it.
engineers are trained basically to solve problems and stick to the rules and.
Yep, yeah, good. So you're talking to another one too, but yeah, okay. No further questions, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Are there any other questions from members of the council? Councilor Orem?
I concur with Councilor Doucette. I was going to ask the same question. I work with engineers, and pretty much it's cut and dry, very scientific, and ZBA decisions, I feel the same way. I'm glad you went to a meeting to see how that function works, and I thank you for volunteering your expertise to help us with the ZBA. So thank you, Mr. Philpott.
Thank you, Councilor Orem. Yeah. Councilor Ossing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so Mr. Philpott and grew up in the same neighborhood. Well, when he moved in, I was not there, but my mother was. But so we met Doug on numerous occasions. But his engineering background will serve the ZBA well, and I encourage the Personnel Committee to look favorable on the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Brown?
Move to approve the recommendation.
All those in favor? All opposed? Carries 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Philpott. All right, moving along. Order number 25-100-9361, communication from Mayor Dumas with the appointment of E. William Baker to the Community Development Authority as the tenant representative for a 3-year term set to expire from the date of City Council confirmation. Quickly read the letter from Mayor Dumas. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, I am submitting for your review and approval the appointment of E. William Baker to the Community Development Authority, tenant seat for a term of 3 years from the date of confirmation. Mr. Baker has been on the Tenants Association for 5 years and secretary for the last 3. His background was in procurement for 45 years, with his title being Vice President of Procurement for Citibank. In my conversation with Mr. Baker, he expressed a desire to become more engaged with his local community. Mr. Baker stepped up to the plate after hearing that after 10 years, Mr. Paul Sliney is retiring at the end of his term in March. I want to thank Paul for his 10 years of service and dedication to the CDA board, and it was an honor to sit on the CDA with him. His knowledge and expertise will be missed. With Mr. Baker's experience and insight gained through his involvement in the Tenants Association, I believe he is an excellent choice for this role. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. I'd like to echo the mayor's sentiments and thank Mr. Sliney for his 10 years of service to the Community Development Authority. Very quickly, just for folks at home, the Marlborough Community Development Authority, under the governance of the Housing, Neighborhood Improvements and Assistance Programs for the Youth, Elderly, and Families. The board oversees both community development and housing. The mayor of Marlborough chairs the MCDA. Mr. Baker, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. I'd like to open it up for you to make a brief statement if you'd like.
Without going into any great detail as far as my experience, having spent 45 years in procurement and inventory management, I also owned, over the course of my lifetime, owned 3 different condos as we moved on. And in each one of those 3, I was on the board because I wanted to be, first of all, especially when you're talking about your own money, so you want to control it. I'm the same way when my job was, I had my hands on the purse strings all the time, which is what I wanted. I wanted to control the money that's being spent because, especially when there's money involved where an employee gets a piece of the action, all the more reason you want to pay attention to what's going on. And that just has carried over to my role here not here just at MCDA, but in the 3 condos that I owned. And I like to be active in that. I want to have a part of the business.
Folks, and especially well-qualified folks, so we do appreciate that. I'd like to open it up to members of the committee for any questions. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. William, how long have you been living at in the building?
5 years.
So you just immediately became part of the Tenants Association when you moved in, or pretty close to that?
When the terms, they were for every 3 years. And I had come into the 2nd year, so after the 3rd year was up, I put my name in and...
Yeah. So living in a condo association, I know exactly what you're talking about, finding people who can be dedicated to work in the service. I appreciate you doing this.
You want to be a part of the word.
Yeah. And also even a secretary, which that's actually one of the heavier lifting stuffs, because you got to take the minutes, write the minutes, publish the minutes, and prove the minutes. That's all on your back. So thank you for that one too.
Thank you.
So, but what sort of insight do you see as far as, how do you see, what do you see as the biggest issues that are now confronting the CDA at this point?
Well, I didn't put it in my resume because it really wasn't a part of my job, but when I took over the secretary's position up here at 240 Main Street, I was aware of the housing organization for the state, which I made an inquiry to them as to how do we play a part in that? How do we join? And they sent 3 people out to me right away. I had 3 people within a week come out to explain to me what they do, how they can help, and it's still a learning process right now. There's a lot to be learned in how the state operates and how does it match how we operate here in Marlborough.
Okay.
So I'm continuing to stay in that committee, and I will stay on that committee should I get this position as well. In fact, it's probably more important that I stay on it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Baker, for joining us and for being willing to take on this additional role in your life. It sounds between the mayor's letter and from what you've just explained that you like to be active and hands-on, you take great pride, and if you take on a role, you're committed to it, and I believe that you're going to serve this role very well, and replacing somebody who had served for 10 years. And again, thank you, Mr. Sani, for his service. With that, I would like to move to approve the recommendation.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the appointment of E. William Baker to the Community Development Authority as the tenant representative for a 3-year term set to expire from the date of the City Council confirmation. Is there any further discussion from any members? Councilor Orm.
He had to say that first.
Okay. Counselor Fucillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Baker, I just wanted to say thank you for council, so appreciate it. Thank you.
The pay is good.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Orem.
I'll make it quick. And same compliments, thank you. You already have your foot in the door, because you pretty much, as noted, writing the minutes for your committee, but the one thing that was read by the Personnel Committee Chair was affordable housing. Seems to be a major challenge, and I'm sure you're aware of the long waiting list to get into affordable housing. I'd just like to hear your view on that in respect to affordable housing.
Well, that's relatively new. In fact, one of the first amendments that came through this year was the fact that, I'm sure, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, that we get a certain amount of dollars from the state per tenant, per unit. And it used to be $6, which gave us $1,500 a year to operate to, various activities for the tenants. Well, they voted in $25 this year, so we've got a large increase. We can do a lot more things with that. Unfortunately, we're dealing with tenants that prefer to stay within their own apartment, which is okay, but the money's there if they need anything, and all they have to do is ask. If it's in the budget, which is bigger now, we certainly can accommodate them, and we're slowly getting ideas coming in.
Thank you for your insight and welcome, and thank you more than anything else for
Thank you.
committing your time. Thank you.
forward to it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Orem. Counselor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Mr. Baker. I've had the pleasure of meeting with you multiple times, and I can say you're very dedicated to 240 Main Street. I think you'll be perfect for this board. I know how, over the years, diligently you organized the yearly yard sale to get funds for that. Those are pluses. And you seem to be that go-to person sometimes in 240 Main, so I think you'll be perfect, and I welcome you on this committee, and thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Irish. Any further discussion? Okay, motion having been made and seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Baker. All right, and our last item on the agenda is order number 25-1009362, communication from Mayor Dumas with the appointment of Ann Mikan to the Council on Aging for a 4-year term set to expire May 7th, 2029. While Ms. Mikan is coming to the well, I will quickly read the letter from Mayor Dumas. Dear Council President Ossing and councilors, I am pleased to submit for your approval the appointment of Ann Mikan to the Marlborough Council on Aging. According to City Ordinance 161, Section 2, members of the Council on Aging serve for 4 years with their terms expiring on the first Monday in May after the appointment. The expiration of this appointment shall be May 7th, 2029, and has been a resident of Marlborough for 40-plus years. Both of her children went through the Marlborough Public School System. She worked as an education assistant and retired in 2019. She is a member of the Senior Center and takes fitness classes, garden club, and the book club. Enclosed with this letter is a list of volunteer activities she has done for the community, and I want to thank Ann for wanting to be more involved with our Senior Center community by joining the Council on Aging. Please do not hesitate to contact me or my office with any questions. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. Hello, Ms. Mikan. Welcome. The mission of the Marlborough Council on Aging and Senior Center is to promote healthy, successful aging and to enhance the quality of life for Marlborough seniors, citizens 60 years of age and older. To that end, we strive to provide comprehensive services and programs for older adults and their families. I want to thank you for your willingness to serve and open the floor to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and why the Council on Aging.
Well, you've said quite of my whole background. But, as my kids were going through school, I did things with the Music Association and the PTA, and just was involved with the schools. After I retired, I started going to the Senior Center and enjoyed some of the programs. And as I got to know people, your world expands. And I just want to see that as a member of the board, like to see that opportunity for other people. I want it to be a warm and welcoming place for people to come.
Great, thank you. Open up to members of the committee. Council Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for joining us. And I really enjoyed reading some of the things that you've been involved in the city, and you are absolutely an engaged community member, and I'm so happy to see that you're going to take the commitment further in the role of CDA, I'm sorry, to help with our senior community. And I think just based on the things that you've done in the city, you're somebody who puts themselves in the community, probably, feels are some general concerns. And so I think that you'd be a great person to take on this type of role. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Brown. Open up to other members of the council. Councilor Orm.
Thank you. Thank you. You have an impressive resume, in my view. All the work you've done through your various volunteering in PTO, MPS Music Department, it goes on with IC Church. It's just amazed at what you've done.
Thank
So
you.
I think you'll be a good asset for the Council on Aging. And I don't know if I've ever passed by you before, but I may have with all these activities you've done over the years. So another fantastic choice by the mayor, and I look forward to seeing you on the council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Ann. I know you and I have known each other for a long time, having had children go through the public school system at the same time. So I'm very excited to see you wanting to be a part of the senior center and specifically the Council on Aging. I think that they will enjoy your enthusiasm and your smile, and the senior center will benefit.
And as I've gone through some of the different classes, I know some of the people on the board, so we have a pretty good working relationship, and we've had conversations. So I think moving forward, we'll have a positive influence on the center. Because we do have a lovely center, and I'd like to see it grow and become a welcoming place.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. That, anyone else? I will entertain a motion. Councilor Doucette.
Motion to approve and mention to the community, Council on Aging.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the appointment of Ann Mikan to the Council on Aging for a 4-year term set to expire May 7th, 2029. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? It carries 3-0. Congratulations. Thank you, Ann.
Good night.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries 3-0. We are adjourned at 8:15.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the City Council Urban Affairs Committee meeting to order. We have one item on our agenda, order number 24, 109-317, an application for a special permit from Marlborough Maple Real Estate Trust for a drive-through window in an existing building to add a cafe at 420 Maple Street. I believe the petitioner, Charlotte Maynard and Christian Berrigan, are both here. If you want to come and sit in the well, that way we can, if there are questions or if you have comments. The City Council did receive the minutes of the public hearing. We also received manager's comments, which I will review. We also were emailed, and I think everybody was given a hard copy of site plan that came. So I don't know if you have any opening comments, otherwise I'm just going to read the manager's comments and we can go through the special permit draft language that we have. So from Paul Dinwiddie, the Board of Health. The Board of Health has reviewed the attached draft decision and has no additional comments. From Marlborough Fire Department, Chief Breen, we asked many of the same questions included in the draft decision while this plan was at site plan. Ultimately, Marlborough Fire Department was satisfied the applicant understood our concerns related to traffic flow and judged a comprehensive sign and striping plan would help alleviate potential problems. From Marlborough Police Chief Georgie, during the site plan review of this application, members made comments pertaining to the traffic flow of the parking lot, potential queuing in the drive-through area, and exits onto Route 85. The applicant was responsive to our suggestions and took steps to improve the signage, markings, and flow of vehicular traffic into the property within the parking lot and for exiting the lot. I believe that these improvements will make the location of the drive-through for the business safer for both patrons and the public. Priscilla Ryder, Conservation and Sustainability Officer. I reviewed the draft special permit for 420 Maple Street and have two minor changes to recommend. In lighting, number 1, applicant, its successors and/or a sign shall utilize illuminations as currently located at the site. All lighting and illumination shall be in accordance with the city code. And number 2, landscaping, the applicant, its successors and/or signs agrees to plant and maintain in good condition the project's landscaping substantially in conformance with the final site plans as submitted to the City Council, which plan is entitled Drive-Through Renovation Site Planting C-3.1 and shall comply with the city code language requirements. And from Tom DePercio, City Engineer. The Engineering Division has reviewed the draft decision and we offer the following comments. During the initial review with the Site Plan Review Committee, we requested many site improvements related to traffic signage and pavement markings in order to properly accommodate the proposed drive-through into this existing site. We also requested that the northern driveway on Maple Street be restricted to a right turn only exit. The applicant has agreed to all of the requested improvements and engaged civil and traffic engineers to provide design plans. We believe the proposed site improvements will provide for safe vehicle movement into, out of, and around the site. During the formal review, we will evaluate the need for additional wayfinding signage or other minor improvements. The applicant has agreed to significant landscape improvements to the existing site, enhancing the site aesthetics and reducing the area of impervious surface. I recommend that conditions number 8 and 9 be reworded as follows. 8, traffic signage and pavement markings. The location and placement of pavement markings and traffic directional signage shall be reviewed and approved by the City of Marlborough during site plan review in accordance with applicable rules and regulations of the City of Marlborough. And number 9, parking area rules. Parking areas shall be swept and maintained in good condition by the applicant, its successors, and assigns as necessary. The applicant, its successors, and/or assigns shall be responsible for providing, installing, and maintaining all signage and pavement markings shown on the approved plans and as required by the Site Plan Review Committee. Such signage or marking shall meet the standards of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. So everybody received a draft decision from the petitioner. For the benefit of the petitioners, although there are a lot of us, the Urban Affairs Committee are actually 5 members. I'm the chair. Councilor Nabin is the vice chair. Our members include Councilor Preciado and Councilor Doucette, and Councilor Landers would normally be over there, is absent. So we will be the ones making a recommendation, hopefully this evening, to the City Council. We have a meeting on Monday, the 24th, I believe Monday's the 24th, where this would be reported out. I could ask for a suspension to then refer it to the solicitor, who will take a look at what you have given us, make sure it's in proper form, and then it would be on a future agenda for the full council to vote on. So at this stage, we're really reviewing the draft decision, making any changes. I did talk to the solicitor today after some questions from one of the members, so I do have some recommended changes, and then the solicitor may make further changes also. So I'm just going to begin going through the draft decision that you have presented to us. We have the findings of facts, which talk about the property of 420 Maple Street, and that you represent the joint interest of the tenant, Adina Cafe, who will be occupying a portion of the property. You propose to utilize the existing structure to operate a coffee shop cafe with one drive-through window, and the site's located in the Commercial Automotive Zoning District. You are here because you need a special permit for the drive-through. In number 6 is where there may be some suggested changes to the language that you have. In connection with the application, the applicant has submitted a certified list of abutters, filing fees, and at this point, I would insert "and architectural drawings by Lafreniere Architects dated October 31st, 2024, because that's what you submitted to the council when we got the application and a rolled-up plan. A plan of the existing site entitled Drive-Through Renovation, site plan dated October 30th, 2024, was submitted electronically to the council. My notes here. Dated 10/30/24, prepared by Sammy Oates Consulting of 20A Street, Framingham, Mass. 01701. The plan was submitted electronically to the City Council, so that we have recognition that we have both the architectural plan, but we also have the site plan that was really submitted first to site plan, but we now have an electronic copy of it, which helps as we look through the traffic flow and where everything is located. So that's an easy change to make sure that a date of the plans and which plans we have at this point in time. So number 7 talks about the plans being certified by the building commissioner. Number 8 talks about the City Council having a public hearing. And number 10 goes into detail about what was presented at the public hearing. So we thank you for your level of detail with, it's unusual for that level of detail to be in our description of the site plan, of the public hearing. So then we get to the findings and facts and the conditions that are specific to this site plan. So in the conditions, number 1 is construction in accordance with the applicable laws. It just talks about construction of all the structures, has to meet the building code and the zoning regulations. Number 2, compliance with applicable laws. It's just legal language where you have to meet all municipal, state, and federal rules, both the applicant and successors. Number 3 is site plan review, which you have gone to site plan review twice. You will go back to site plan if this drive-through is approved, and they will tweak any final details that they may have. Number 4 is the modification of plans. That just talks about notwithstanding conditions above, the site plan review committee may make engineering changes to the plans so long as they don't change the use of the project. or materially increase the impervious area of the project, reduce the green area, alter traffic flow, increase the size, shape, or position of the building, or alter the fencing. Number 5 is signs and awnings. It just talks about the locations and the design of the signing shall be reviewed in accordance with the sign ordinance. Number 6 is incorporation of the submissions. So everything that you've submitted, the plans, the photo renderings, the site evaluations, all of that is part of the record. Number 7 is the hours of operation. So you will have the hours being for the restaurant and the drive-through window shall not exceed Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. There will be no 24-hour operation. Number 8 is traffic signage, and this is where we have one of the recommendations from Mr. DePercio, the location and placement of pavement markings and traffic directional signage. I'm going to suggest that we strike, I'm sorry.
May I just wanted to...
Yes, I'm sorry, Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the hours of operation, that's not a typo, right? That's supposed to be 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., not 2 p.m.?
I think it might have been a typo because I copied and pasted from the prior. So I believe that is a typo.
So
You don't
what?
plan- When do you,
It's-
the hours are going to be?
The regular hours in Framingham is until
So 7 to
7.
7,
No, 5 to 9 p.m. maybe.
would be the most.
PM.
Okay, I assumed that you
Sorry.
were wanting to be one of those late night.
Nope.
That's good. I got nervous that I thought it said 2 p.m. at first, and I'm after 2 p.m. coffee person, so I was like, oh, I really kind of wish they'd open later than that, so that's great. All right.
So
Thank you,
5
ma'am.
a.m. to, again, what PM?
9 PM.
9
No,
p.m.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
5
thank you.
a.m. until 9 p.m.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
That totally went past me, and I figured that's like, okay, that's long hours, late hours, but if that's what you want. All right, so we're back to traffic signage. As I said, I would suggest that we strike currently located at the site. So it's the location and placement of pavement markings and traffic directional signage shall be reviewed and approved by the City of Marlborough during site plan review in accordance with the applicable rules and regulations. Tom is suggesting, Councilor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just in general, I was driving through the space this evening on the way in here, and with the layout of the drive-through, I have some concerns. I think I just want to raise them as concerns at this point. But, you know, there's a snowbank now that is crimping the space where you've got the drive-through and then a car has to go by through as well. This is something to watch for the future, because this was a hell of a storm full of ice and snow, which God knows the last time we had one of these before this one. But it's a real tight spot around the corner of the building. And you need to get two large, worst case conditions, you got to get two large SUVs through it at the same time. So that's a concern that I have. I'm just raising it as a concern to make sure cars can get by, especially this time of year with snowbanks. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because we only need one lane right now, we only paid for plowing of one.
Okay.
But yeah, when we
okay.
upgrade, we will.
Yeah. And
Upgrade
there
our
will be
plowing.
signage to, because anyone that comes off of 85, if they want to go through the drive-through, have to go around the building, right?
There'll be signage that shows.
There'll be signage for that. Okay, that was the other concern I have, and thank you for the time, appreciate it.
All right, so number 9 are the parking area rules. Mr. DePercio has suggested that they be changed to parking areas shall be swept and maintained in good condition by the applicant, its successors, and assigned as necessary. The applicant, its successors, and/or assigned shall be responsible for providing, installing, and maintaining all signage and pavement markings shown on the approved plans, and as required by the Site Plan Review Committee, such signage or marking shall meet the standards of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. I take it that you got a copy of this manager's changes so that you're aware of these. Is that not true?
I perhaps got it and didn't realize that there had been changes in it, but I will go through my email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 10 is no overnight parking. There shall be no overnight parking at the site. I don't know if there currently is parking overnight at the site.
If there is, it's not by our permission, so that's something I can look into. But, I mean, we don't authorize overnight parking, but it's not something that has been brought to my attention, so if we need to start towing, monitoring, I can do that.
Okay. Number 11 are drive-through speakers. The drive-through window shall employ a pedestal speaker system that automatically adjusts to the ambient noise so as to minimize the noise emanating from the speaker system to levels comporting with the noise ordinance of the City of Marlborough. The drive-through audio speakers shall not produce noise at the rear property line at the plaza, shown as map 93, parcel 67A on the assessor's map of the City of Marlborough, greater than that which would be allowed in a residential zone pursuant to the noise ordinance of the City of Marlborough. I did go back and look. We had approved a drive-through for the bank, a bank that put a Starbucks on Route 85, and this language is similar, and they actually have more residents than you do, but there are some houses behind you on Walker Street, so I'm sure that there is concern with the noise. Number 12 is deliveries. In order to mitigate noise concerns for residential abutters, no deliveries to the site by semi-trailer shall occur between 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m. Lighting, it was suggested by Priscilla Ryder to change this to read, all lighting and illumination shall be in accordance with the city code. Number 11, landscaping. This is another one where, after talking to the solicitor, there will be some suggested changes so that it would read, the applicant, its successors, and/or assigns agrees to plant and maintain in good condition the project's landscaping substantially in conformance with the, delete the word final, and then it would be with the plan entitled Drive-Through Renovation Site Planting C3.1 dated 10/30/24, or as amended by the Site Plan Review Committee and shall comply with the city code requirements. As my understanding is that there may be some additional landscaping required. So we want to make sure it's not the site plan submitted to the council, but it's that site plan for Site Plan Review Committee. So I know I read that fast, but the solicitor will get notes, and this will be on the final draft that he sends to us. Trash is number 15. The applicant, its successors, and/or assigns agrees to keep dumpsters covered and to screen the project's trash area by constructing a dumpster enclosure of a design compatible with the building. Applicant, its successors, and/or assigns further agrees the dumpsters located on the site shall be covered. No trash pickup shall occur before 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m. Snow removal, applicant, its successors, and/or assigned shall maintain and conduct snow storage and removal on the site and shall store or remove snow as necessary to provide for clear and safe traffic flow on the site. So to Councilor Doucette's point, I think that's where they would make sure that if in fact you need to remove snow, you would keep that traffic flow area clear. Number 17, non-severability of conditions. If any of the above conditions is deemed to be invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, then this decision shall be null and void. And number 18 is our standard recording of the decision. So I know I went through that fast, but you obviously know the language having put it together. Are there questions, concerns with the members of the committee? I'll go with them first and then open it up for Councilor Doucette. I saw his hand first. So, Councilor Doucette?
Thank you. Item 17, is that something new? I haven't seen that in any of the prior conditions. So it's kind of caught that one.
I'm sorry, which one? Number 17?
Item 17, yeah.
It is something that is not typically in here. I know that I believe you were given a draft. I don't know if whoever you worked with added that. If it's an issue, the solicitor may...
I'd like to get the solicitor's opinion on item 17, if that's okay. let the lawyers fight it out.
Okay. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
they will review this and decide if, in fact, they usually talk to a petitioner if there's is there a specific reason why you added it? That,
I think it was because it was on the original draft that was handed to me by the,
Okay.
by Steve.
so I know that our secretary did give a draft to the petitioner to
Okay.
work with, so I don't know exactly what draft she gave, but if it was there, then obviously it's been on a special permit, but
Right. I
It
don't
may
remember
not
seeing
be
something like that, but I might
recent.
have missed it from before.
I don't know.
Could you read it,
Can you
17,
read
please?
17?
non-severability. If any of the above conditions is deemed to be invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, then this decision shall be null and void.
The
So it is-
implications is, if I read this, if one thing's wrong, it's all null and void.
Right, normally it would be the other way around, you'd want to have the ability.
That's
if
why I'm
gets
flagging it.
severed, Yes, that's,
So, like I said, let the lawyers fight this one out.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would remove it. Yeah, we usually have for site plan, I'm on a board in my town, we would have something that does not,
Not that extreme.
right, but actually allows everything to stay in place if something does change.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
could have
you
a-
can pick.
A zoning change, right, and
Right,
doesn't-
not the whole thing falling apart, but you
Yes.
pick the piece. and-
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I will make a note that we will ask the solicitor to look into this to see if he has a change in language or if he suggests removing
Maybe
it.
strike
And
it.
if he
And
has
he
any
would-
questions of my concern, have him give me a call. That's
Okay.
fine.
I'm sure he would. Any other questions from you, Counselor Doucette?
Thank you.
Counselor Navin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really, just a quick note. I think this project's great. I'm super excited about it. I am a coffee addict, and we already have some locally owned coffee shops in the community, and I think there can always be more. So I'm excited that you guys are coming here to invest. Also, I think it's great because this entrance to the city, which I drive at least 2 or 3 times a day, heading out of the city to head to work and then coming back, is not always the best corridor. It looks like Route 1 in Norwood. You can't miss any used cars for sale. And so by having this project before us, that's going to generate some site improvements, I think is great. So I think the city will benefit from that. It really does seem like even since the public hearing, there's been some additional work done, I think, on some of the entrances and exits for the past few weeks. As I've been heading to work in the morning, I am perhaps one of the drivers that people are concerned about who is traveling too fast to try and get through that light at Walker Street to get on the other side, to try and start the slog across the Sudbury Reservoir. So
Was you this morning?
it's me every morning, Counselor. And so, I did have some concerns about the left turns and people kind of jutting out into traffic. But I have been kind of analyzing that, and I think that some of the work here that's been done for what I would call the first exit, by restricting that turn, I think is very helpful, both in and out. I think that's going to make a big difference. The only concern I have on the left turn, I think, like, you want people to be able to exit. You want people to get out and get on their way. You do not want to be, in my opinion, creating a traffic jam on Walker Street that's just going to back up. So I guess my only concern is, and I'm very, very happy to see the new trees and the new shrubs, is just to make sure that line of sight for that one tree that is closest to the entrance and exit on the southern entrance and exit, just does not intrude with that line of sight. Because I think as much as people are coming up, if you're heading north on 85 coming into the city and it's 5 o'clock and you see that light is green, some people, not me, some people are going to hit a pretty hefty speed trying to make that light, so that they don't get stuck at Brigham and Walker. And so I would just want to make sure that line of sight for them is good. Besides that, I think it's a great project. Welcome, and hope this goes forward.
Counselor Preciado?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a quick question. I was wondering where you were going to put your dumpster.
The dumpster's going to remain where the dumpster exists now, which is, if you look at the site on it's
Right corner of the property.
Opposite side.
Oh, all the way.
All the way back.
all the way back.
Okay, okay. That's a long walk.
That was the last iteration when I came in front of, when Priscilla suggested that it no longer go in the very corner.
Okay,
Like in
yeah.
front.
We had to consolidate. I think every tenant had their own
Yeah.
They all went back.
dumpster, and they made a recommendation for us to have one communal dumpster for the property.
Gotcha.
And that's just the most obvious place to put it, that's out of sight, out of mind for the neighbors that also like to come drop their
Okay.
trash off.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's the most turning area too for the vehicles to get in and out of there and not be affected by parking.
Yeah, I've never noticed it on my way through, so maybe
Yeah,
that's a good
back
thing.
right corner.
Yeah,
Great place.
yeah.
Try
All
to keep it
right.
hidden.
Great. Awesome. I thought you guys were going to build a new one out in front, so that's good news. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions from other counselors that are here this evening? Counselor Warren?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you remember at the hearing, I was the one that questioned the safety of the exits onto Maple Street. I see that, you're now having right turn out at the northern exit. The southern exit, which isn't too far from the northern exit, what concerns me is the exiting to go left onto Maple Street. The traffic, as mentioned by Councilor Navin, merges in, and quite quickly, as you noted, accidents down there. And it's because it's not just your business, other businesses, the Ford dealership's a good example. They can go left in as well. But by then, the traffic has merged. What happens is the traffic's trying to merge in, people stop paying attention to what's in front and who's behind you, who might be trying to pass by you either most likely on the right side. So
I think I agree. I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
Go ahead.
Counsel. I wanted to just say, I think anyone who wanted to actually take a left turn to get in and use the drive-through is likely to use Walker, because then you'd be able to get into Walker and be right there for the drive-through. If you were going left, I think what that in will be more people taking a right off Maple. Taking a left would make you go all the way around the building, where you'd have the light control to turn left and be much better, and then you're right there at the drive-through. So I think as long as you have, and it's not like you see a big Dunkin' Donuts sign or something like that where you have people jumping in, you're gonna have more of probably a user that knows this locale going in. Though it makes more sense to take the left on Walker, that the overall site is gonna teach people to do that.
And that's, the teaching is, I agree with you, and they even get a delayed, they get an arrow for a few seconds
Correct.
when you're turning left onto
turn that.
Walker.
It's only a few seconds.
Yeah, it's true, but
Yeah.
again, it's not your fault that was a bad design, but it does concern me with the left going in more than the left going out, going south onto Maple Street towards Southborough.
And now, it's wide open and more go in and out, and we're trying to control it and move it further away. But I do think the majority of the people are going to be now led towards really going in off Walker.
And I understand what you're saying,
But you'd still want, I think, the right in, if you're coming up Maple, you might want, if you stop there, be able to just jump in, and you'd rather go around the building.
The right
than-
in is fine. If you're coming north on Maple Street, right in, I have no problem with that. It's the one car coming down, cars merging in.
Sure.
Paying attention to what's behind them to make sure they're not going to get hit in the rear. And then all of a sudden, there's a car stop right in front. And that's where I've seen accidents before, because they weren't looking in front of them to see the stoplights. So I'm not in favor of a left in at this point, and would ask that the site plan review consider that. I know they only considered the northern exit, but I would ask that that be considered. They left out, that person's taking it at their risk, but left in is my concern, because you got a stopped car with cars merging into them. Hopefully it won't cause an accident, but I would ask that reconsideration be made.
I think it's just tricky to have if you don't have a left in, you wouldn't have an in, and then you wouldn't allow the right in, and that's the challenge. I agree. And I don't know with geometry how to make it work, because it's on the other side of kind of a double lane.
Because you want to go left in if you're going north.
Correct.
How do you prevent left in going south? My left in
right in
going
going
south
in.
is the
Yeah, yeah.
concern. Hopefully people will learn the lights the best way.
I think that's where
I don't know
hopefully
if there's-
will become, yeah.
Well,
Counselor Orem, I
unfortunately-
think we could debate this all night, but
No, no, I
would
was just gonna end
remind
it-
you that site plan did
Review.
review, and if you listen to the comments from the department heads, I'll reread Chief Breen's, that the applicant understood our concerns related to traffic flow and striping, so they are aware of the concerns. They drive these streets the same as we do, and they deemed it appropriate. They really pushed for that right turn only on the further northern entrance exit. So I don't think they're going to make any changes to the traffic flow going forward. Our job really at this level is the drive-through approval.
And I was going to end that, it wasn't a debate, it's just a point of fact. What I was going to say at the end is that teaching method, if we start seeing accidents, I'd say this gets back to site plan review for further review, because we don't want to see a catastrophe because we didn't address it here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Any further comments? Counselor Doucette, you have your hand up. Do you?
Yeah, just one final comment about traffic, because, talking about left turns and everything, I immediately think of, on Route 20, the left turn into Target that says no left turn, and people still do it, and I don't want, it is an accident-prone location, and I'm concerned that the same thing can happen here. So I think Councilor Orem brings a fair concern that if there is issues with traffic, it needs to get back to site plan. But I do think having the northern exit on Maple Street being exit only is good, and because that blocks hopefully any traffic turned into that. And really, there's only one entrance on 85, and you got to have at least one entrance. So I think that's a fair compromise.
Right. And I would agree. I know that this property has a lot of usage, had a lot of usage in the past, probably still does have a lot of usage. There's always traffic going in and out of it, and I'm sure that if there were issues in the past, that they would have been discussed at site plan too. So we have 85 with left turns in and out of multiple businesses, and we have Route 20 where we deal with the same issue for left turns in and out of multiple businesses. And
to belabor it, but I would say it's a good thing. I live close to by where that Target is. That's where you see engineering trying to actually prevent, and it actually, I think, causes more problems because it's engineered to only allow the right, and it makes it tougher for people, and they're still stubborn and decide they're going to go in left. And I think because of that, trying to force it creates more hesitation and movement issues that probably cause accidents because of people's stubborn nature.
Madam Chair.
Councilor Neiman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to approve this application for special permit.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the application for the special permit for the drive-through for Adina Cafe. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. And we are missing one of our members. So as I said, I will report this out at Monday's meeting. I will ask for a suspension so that it can get referred to the solicitor. He will go over things that we discussed tonight and make the changes and make any changes that he feels are necessary. I will make sure that he understands our concern of number 17. He may be in touch with you about that, whether you are comfortable just removing it or rewording it. And we'll go forward from there. Councilor Doucette.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 2, 3, 4. So we are adjourned at 8:59. 8.